enemy. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he goes me. And he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score, never getting bored. Lots of blood and gold, always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel it for the party. And if you start shit, you'll be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped, you'll be chewed up and discarded. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me...
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Voice of Reason. I hope everybody had a good day. It's been a crazy day in the news.
It's been a crazy life in the news lately.
We do have a special episode lined up for you today. Our guest is running a few minutes late, so we're going to go ahead and chat for a couple seconds about some of the new headlines of the day. The one I had to laugh my freaking ass off about was the Golden Dome.
He's back with this shit.
I'm going to talk about more tomorrow on my 2-hour news recap. Believe me, I will be tearing this apart because this is the funniest shit I have ever heard.
He thinks it's a dome. He does.
Right. What they're literally cutting food stamps and Medicaid. They're going to kick millions of Americans off of medical insurance and take away their food money while simultaneously making everything more expensive. And then Donald Trump is out there taking $400 million fucking private jets. And you know that he apparently asked for. It wasn't just offered to him. That's crazy.
It's funny because as that story was developing, whatever the hell you want to call it, like, you know, the idea that they were giving it to him, we knew it's not like they were just like, hey, this is fun. Here, have a plane. Obviously, there's quid pro quo situations. The plane is probably lousy with bugs, not the creepy crawlies, but the listening kind. But the fact that now that story is not being let go because, look, the media is pretty much all but lost nowadays. Now, there are some bastions of truth coming out. Like, I think that CNN were actually the ones that broke this story. And we knew before they broke this story that plane was so old and no one wanted it. Okay, that's why. And Trump would, of course, take it because you just throw anything at him and tell him it's because they love him and he'll accept it. But now knowing that it was an old shitty plane that no one wants, they couldn't get rid of, that Trump then goes, I want it. Because why? He said he doesn't like the aesthetics of the current Air Force One. This is a person who gets into office and is trying to change everything to be how he likes it because he thinks it's his office. He thinks it's his plane. He thinks it's his country.
Right.
This
he
is
thinks
what they
he's a
voted
king.
for.
I mean, that's why I call him the American Cloud King. You know what I mean? He's got the makeup. He's got the wig. Well, whatever that is up there. He's got the clown suit on the whole time. He's got a whole big court of ridiculous, idiotic jesters. I mean, you know what I mean? I think we should just call him that from now on instead of just, you know. I usually call him that on TikTok because they've been censoring. That's another thing I want to talk about. TikTok is pissing me off lately. So, yeah, the Golden Dome. For those of you who don't know, he's copying off Israel's Iron Dome. And, of course, Donald Trump's obsessed with gold. So it had to be golden.
It's like, I like their Iron Dome. I like that they build a dome. I can't personally see it. It's probably made from the material of those stealth planes. But we should make a golden dome because gold is so much better.
Right. We were convinced for the longest time that Donald Trump thought that Israel had an actual Iron Dome, like a physical dome built over it. We were convinced of that. But now... All right, so and for those people that don't know, the Iron Dome is a short-range missile defense system because Israel and its borders are always fighting against other countries. Why is this ridiculous in the United States? Because I mean, it's a short-range missile defense system. Okay,
the only people they could defend against are Mexico and Canada. Everything else is a long-range intercontinental ballistic missile.
That's what I'm saying. And those don't, and the Golden
Iron Dome is not going to stop a giant fucking nuclear missile coming.
Right. It's not going to shoot down an ICBM. That's not a thing. So he's going to build short range missiles all around and sea and space. Fucking somebody just,
you know, I always knew that the United States would be the first to truly weaponize space. But fuck, I
mean-
thought it would be because maybe we got ourselves into some sort of scenario we had to defend against at a high level. No, it's going to turn out that a goofball who thinks Star Wars is a documentary, okay, is
Yeah.
going to try and put missiles in space to protect against the moon people. I don't know.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't get it, man. So yeah,
well, wait a minute.
yeah,
Maybe
Santa-
he wants to defend against the Jewish space laser.
right, or maybe that's how he's gonna start handling severe weather. He's just gonna shoot missiles at it.
Oh, let's talk about severe weather. Let's talk about that FEMA
We talked about it yesterday a little bit,
is
man.
not on the ground
Nowhere.
from what it seems like. And
Nowhere
guess
to be
who's
seen.
asking? Josh Hawley, okay, the famous senator who ran out of the Capitol building during January 6th because he's a scared little baby cat. But people like him, there are governors, Republican mayors in these states that got ravaged by this, I don't know, strange weather. And guess what? No show. FEMA's not there. They didn't even get a call from Trump, right? Instead of helping anyone, he's having his Bitcoin dinner on Thursday. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we got going.
I don't even think he's made a comment about it yet.
He doesn't even know what's happening.
No, and then
I
they're
almost
like I
walked into
said,
a
they're
poll today.
they're
Fucking
secretly
poll.
trying to pass this big beautiful bill. They don't have enough support from Republicans
Big
for
beautiful
that. So
dome, big beautiful bill,
bill,
big
yeah, all
beautiful
this money
planes.
going into billionaires and weapons defense systems. So yeah, I mean, because we got to stop Mexico from shooting all those damn missiles into the United States. I mean, and Canada, like you guys just, you know what? We're tired. We're tired of all of the missiles entering the United States. We definitely need a multi-billion-dollar system. So it looks like our guest has arrived. She is just got off a TikTok live and is nice enough to come on our humble show and take some time from that. She does a lot of TikTok lives, and the one thing I like about it is she is basically you're allowed to come in there and ask questions. And I've seen her give some very straightforward answers, and some that some people are just in there to be ignorant, you know what I mean? And I just respect how she is able to handle it all.
Ignorance is bliss. That's what they say, but it is not.
Right. So let me bring her in. We met her. Actually, I had started watching her videos before we met her.
That's right.
And when I saw her, I was all happy, like I was all starstruck. I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is. So as soon as she got off stage from speaking when she was in Washington, D.C. on April 30th, I ran over, introduced myself like a fanboy,
Like a dork.
and asked her to be on our show. And she said yes. So let me bring her onto the stage now. Welcome for the first time on the show. We have Lelaina Faye. How are you?
Hello, how are you doing? I'm
Hi.
probably going to be looking down a lot because, like, I've got my laptop down here, but the camera's
No
up
worries.
here.
No,
Right,
I
right.
never look at the camera. I am terrible at that.
If you look at me, I'm looking. My screen is here
Yeah.
and my camera's here, so I'm usually
Right. I gotta figure out a better angle for this because I'm working on getting to like doing Streamlabs so I can be on multiple platforms, and I've
Yep.
got to get used to because I'm used to like looking directly at the phone,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I've got to figure out the best angle for this.
Yeah,
Also,
it's trickier than people think, so you don't look like a total fool. But like
right.
Jeremy
Like,
and I are always looking like I'm looking at the comments or Instagram, and he's looking at a video. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
I
right.
if you need another platform for multi-streaming on different websites or whatever, we use StreamYard for our podcast stuff. It's actually a lot easier to navigate. Unless you're really good with stuff like that. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I've already set up Streamlabs desktop. I just have to like
Nice.
get
I
going.
use
Like,
I use
start it.
Streamlabs too for our I do a 2-hour live stream with like news recaps on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I use Streamlabs for that because it's a lot easier to just click back and forth between screens if you have like multiple tabs open and stuff. But anyway, off topic. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was good to see you in DC and actually get a chance to meet you. We
Yeah,
actually
it
met a
was
lot of
fun.
people that we have met online as a result of this podcast, and just seeing everybody in one place coming together that we didn't even know most of the people were going to show. Like we didn't know they were coming, and just to see them, and we already knew them. It was just like a really special moment. I think
that's kind of one thing we've really wanted to do with the protest is share our experience of the power of being around people that are fighting for the same thing, people that are accepting of everyone that's there. We're all there to fight fascism. We're all there to defend each other in any way
Absolutely.
necessary. And like being able to just speak freely with people that aren't idiots. You don't have to like be careful with what you say. You could just talk like human adults, and like it's refreshing. And that's what we've been enjoying bringing to people through like live streaming
Yeah, thank you.
protests and stuff.
Thank you so much for having me on. And it
Oh,
was, yeah,
absolutely.
it was awesome. I love doing stuff like that.
Mhm.
Not just for the cause, but like, yeah, to meet like folks that
Yeah.
I have been doing this action with, you know, for some time now, and to get to like hang out and like
Yeah.
see the human beings behind the screen, you know,
Yep.
is very cool.
Yeah, we've been saying it for a while now that like I forgot who brought this up. It might have been, I don't remember who it was. It was like we have to remember to get back outside, but like not at the loss of the interconnectivity that the internet and all that has and technology has given us, but we almost forgot that we're all still human beings. And I'm not saying,
Mhm.
if you're someone that isn't a big fan of going outside, I'm not trying to knock you. I'm just saying that like the world forgot that we aren't as alone as we think we are. We found
Right.
connections through the internet, but we also feel alone at the same time. And we're
Yeah.
really not, really not.
Right. And it's always also fun to find out just how tall people are.
Oh my God. You're right. Because everyone looks generally the exact same.
Right, exactly. Everybody's the same. I was like, "Oh, you're taller than I expected," or "Oh, you're shorter than I expected." Like,
Yep.
it's
That's a
never
good
like I
point.
never get it exactly right. So,
That's so funny. It's just, I don't know. It's really cool. We love the idea of all the people we've met and the different types of people from different walks of life, different backgrounds. And it like reaffirms what we're trying to do, which is just let everyone know you're not alone, I guess. And like,
right.
there's still people fighting. It might not look like it. We have people that one day we admire in a Cory Booker and the next day he votes for a Trump lackey.
I
We
saw
have
that.
people we're looking for in a Democratic Party trying to help us. And then they're not fighting back against, bills that are taking away people's rights. So
Yeah.
No.
we have to realize that this movement of resistance might not look as political as we wish it would. We're not going to get the help we thought we would, but we have
Right.
to stand by each other.
Right. And we gotta like, you know, let them know when they're doing stuff right, but also let them know when they're not living up to expectations
Oh, don't
either,
just
you know?
worship your politicians.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, surprisingly, you know, we hold people to a standard here, you know, like, that we wanna, you know that they're on our side, and, that they're not,
yep.
like, making, you know, deals behind closed doors that throw us under the bus, you know?
Yep. I think we're going to have to do a better job of not just, I don't know if we can vet our politicians because we have no say. Honestly, as ironic as it is, we don't necessarily have a say of who they choose to run. We
I
could
know.
primary them all we want. There's only so much the people have a voice in that. But
Mhm.
I think we need to start growing a movement in a way that they did, the right did, but like obviously not full of
Yes,
bigotry and
that
hate.
that is
you know,
undeniable. Yeah, we have to be undeniable.
and we're
Exactly.
not
Yes.
going to be funded. No one is going to be funding the resistance. That will not
No.
happen.
There's
Mm-mm.
somebody
So,
said somebody's like, Jeremy, you're being quiet in the comments today. I'm looking at a MAGA asshole in the comments. And I was blocking them. That's all.
oh, we
I was just
had
thinking
one.
Bree doesn't
Oh,
show back up.
yeah.
Yeah, these pieces of shit come out from nowhere. They don't
Yeah,
follow us. They don't
just
subscribe to us. They
yeah.
just come on to troll. I'm
Just
sure
so
you deal
y'all
with that a
know,
lot on TikTok.
if you decide to do any transphobia today in the comments, I will not see it. I'm I can't see it at all. So it's just
Good.
like out
We
there in the
typically,
ether.
yeah, we typically don't get many.
And the best part is the people that are awesome and watch us. We have a small but super dedicated group of people that watch us, and they
Mhm.
will not tolerate that
They'll usually
in
handle
the
it for
comments
us for the most
whatsoever. Yeah.
part. Yeah.
Right.
So I know you don't want to
Yeah.
make the
I
show
mean,
all
I get
about
it all
you.
day, every day. Like,
Oh,
you
I have
know,
no
doing
doubt.
my
Oh, I'm sure.
show, and my mod team is freaking phenomenal
Good.
That's what I
at
need, man.
keeping them wrangled. But I have to tell them to be a little. I was like, let them go. It's fun to dunk on them. Like,
Yes.
let them
I know.
be.
They
Like
make
I
it
get it.
so easy.
Sometimes there's a time when you're like, all right, we got to be a little serious. Let's get to the point here. But then it's just like there are times where I just want to mock them
Mhm.
and
Oh
point
my
out
God.
how stupid they are, or like they just
Yeah,
do it to themselves. But
Right.
they really do. So I know you don't want to make the show all about you, which I understand. But I like our audience to get at least to know a little bit about your history because you are a veteran. We did talk about that.
Yes.
So, if you don't mind, I mean, just the short, condensed version, and then we'll move
Of
on
my
to
bio? Sure.
Yeah, like what's your
yeah,
up
the
to?
quick.
What do you want people to know?
Yep, the synopsis.
Okay, yeah, quick and easy. So I was born in Arkansas in 1975. Yes, I am 49 years old.
Really?
And I joined the National Guard when I was about 20 years old, I guess. Yeah, sounds about right. In 1996, so I was in the Army National Guard from 96 to 02. After less than a year in Arkansas, after I'd gone to boot camp in AIT, I was a 63 Sierra, a heavy wheel vehicle mechanic.
Nice.
I moved to Colorado with a bunch of friends, and so I transferred units to the 36th 50th Maintenance Company, where I spent most of my enlistment as a Hemet wrecker operator. We never saw any like overseas deployments, although we
Mhm.
did go to Germany to rebuild engines for a few weeks at one
That's
point.
awesome.
Nice.
That was pretty fun because as the wrecker operator, I didn't always have stuff to do, so I was attached to the like welders and machinists,
hmm
and so I ended up like learning how to like hone pistons and stuff like that, and so that was kind of fun.
You never know what you're gonna learn. Like you
Right.
just don't.
Yeah.
You never know.
And
Germany's nice.
we also did like forest fire stuff, it being in
Oh.
Colorado. So like if there was a fire, we would go out to patrol to make sure like houses
That's
weren't getting
awesome.
looted and stuff like that. So
God, we're the worst.
Nice.
Humans suck.
I
I
know.
know, right?
My God.
Because people would have to abandon their homes and then they
Oh.
were just like sitting there unguarded and people knew that. And so
There are people wringing their hands at every natural disaster. Like, I'll go in there and steal some
I
shit.
mean, yeah.
Now, how did you get into like the whole social media thing, or when? I guess
Oh,
when did that start?
yeah, so I just ended with the military thing. Then I moved to New York
Oh,
in
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's
2002.
right. I
I
forgot
kind of
we
just
found
ended
out
there.
we we're both on Long Island. I forgot that
Yeah.
we talked about that.
Yeah. No, actually, so no, I moved to New York in 2001, right after 9/11, actually.
Funsies.
Oh, wow.
And the person I was with at the time had gotten into Columbia, so we moved to New York. I had always
Nice.
wanted to move to New York though. And so I was like, yes, let's go. And so transferred units there, but I was only there for a few more months. And then my enlistment ended and I was done because I wanted to go back to school.
Mhm.
And so I went to art school at
Nice.
SVA, School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, and then eventually became an art teacher. Was an art teacher for 14
awesome.
years. In that time, I got married, had a kid,
Nice.
and moved out east, like out of the city eventually. And I guess
Yay,
that was
Long
in like
Island.
2008. Yeah, on Long Island. And then came out as trans in 2020. That sounds about right. I think actually no. I came out to myself in 2019 and to my
Mm.
partner the day after that.
Mhm.
And we are not together anymore. Split amicably because I'm not a dude and she's not into like
Yeah.
femmes.
Yeah.
So but it was like we're very much like still like best friends and
That's awesome.
co-parents,
Oh,
and
that's good.
she met her rekindled
Aw.
her relationship with her high school sweetheart. Like they
Oh,
reconnected after 30 years and
Sometimes
are
weird shit
married
works out.
now. Yeah, they're
Sometimes
lovely.
shit works out. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but then after I came out, teaching kind of went
Yeah.
sideways. It was the rise of libs of TikTok. I was one of the first
Oh my
teachers that she
God.
went after.
what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so then I left teaching and
That's a shame.
looked for something else to do. I went back to school for social work, and I like the idea of social work, but I did
Mm.
not love the program, so I left that. And now I kind of do social work in a
Hey,
way.
In a way, yeah.
people need
It's
to realize
accepted.
that.
I help people find resources. Like it is very much kind of the
You know what's
idea of
funny?
what I was
You ended
gonna
up
do.
doing what you couldn't find.
Exactly. Like,
And
yeah,
and I
it was
think
like,
And
that's
you can do it your way too. So that's kind
yeah,
of
I
because it's
think
like
that's
living in a place without like with a teaching degree and not wanting to teach
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, but
Um,
you got that educator brain in there,
yeah.
and you want to help and you want to pass on knowledge, and that's one of the reasons we love having so many different cool people on, because Jeremy and I are masters of very little, but we love to learn and meet people and hear what they're doing to help, and let
Mhm.
other people know that there are ways to help that are not the traditional ways.
Yeah,
There's so
yeah,
many
I
people
kinda
that
stumbled into it. I started watching debates. I saw a debater, like a political debater, who does, like, a lot of different topics,
Mhm.
on Instagram, but it was a clip from TikTok, and,
Usually is.
yeah, and so, and so then I started, like, watching political debate, and this happened to be somebody who was talking about a trans topic, which is why it ended up in my algorithm on Instagram. And, but I thought he did a nice job for a cis guy, like he seemed to
Mhm.
know his stuff but so I started following like other political streamers. Then I was also following like the queer like TikToker live streamers. And then I just sort of merged those together because I didn't see a lot of trans representation on the political side.
Yeah,
And so
Mhm.
there was a lot of
agree.
cisgender people talking about trans people with no human face to the conversation. So
Right.
I just started like asking to come up to talk like when it was like if somebody came up who was like a MAGA person and they wanted to yap about trans people, I would just, like, beg from the comments, "Please, can I come up? I'm a trans debater. I'm trans."
Yep.
I At the time, I was, like, not really like, I just knew stuff. I had done a lot of homework. I had been, like,
Well, that's
researching and
something a lot of the opposition does not do at all.
yeah,
So to have
No.
so
people
and I had lived
represent
it as well, like,
exactly,
which
Yeah.
was the
exactly.
thing that, like, wasn't getting represented, and so, like, I went up on a couple, and then word started getting around, like, "Okay, Lainey knows her stuff, like, bring her up." So and then at a certain point last fall, I forget if it was before or after the election, I started hosting, my own lives,
Mhm.
and I tried out the more, like, confrontational topic type of thing, like, trans people belong in the bathrooms, blah, blah, like, that type of thing, and I was like, "You know what? I am so sick of having to debate my existence and my right to exist in
Yep.
public."
Mhm.
And I wanna just talk to the people, and as I always open the show, I wanna talk to folks with curious minds, open
Mhm.
hearts, and empathy.
Nice.
And
Yes.
so if you want to understand more about trans people, um, you come to my program. If you wanna learn how to help the community, how to
It's
be a
so
better
important.
ally or accomplice, like how to help your trans relative, like, feel more
Yep.
welcome in the family, that is what I'm there for and
Oh,
what my
Nice.
team of, like, mods and the community that we've built there is
mhm.
for, is to
It's
provide people that safe space to have that conversation.
on my way home from work today, I was thinking about the show because this, when we meet new people, there's like an odd mix of, what we want to do with the show. We don't want to just talk at you. We don't want to just ask questions, and
Mhm.
we love doing topics. But
Mhm.
the idea is, in my mind, it's so important to just hear people and be open. And I was thinking to myself, the big problem is, are the people that want to listen the real problems? Maybe they're the ones that will come around eventually. And those are the people we
Mhm.
need to focus on. We've been saying we don't want to focus on the hardcore maggots. We're not going to try and lure you away if you want to come over and listen. And I think
Mhm.
that's the fundamental reason we got here, is because so many people in this country don't teach their kids to be compassionate and curious.
Right.
Right.
And that's all it takes, is compassion and curiosity to
It's
be a
not hard.
decent human being.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. So,
Yeah, you don't have to understand everything either, that you can understand that there are gonna be people that have, like, a
Right.
different,
why is that so scary to people? I don't
background,
understand it.
like, that they're going to have different experiences from you, and that's okay. Like, we don't all
Yeah,
have to be
Right.
it's
the
funny.
same. That would be a very boring world if we were all
But
exactly the
it's like
same.
what bothers me is it's obviously the whole topic of transgender is not a simple one. It's very complex, and
Mhm.
it's not something that you're just gonna
Yeah.
see or hear about and go, "Oh, yeah, okay, I get it."
Right. And I
You know
think
what I
that's
mean? You have to make an effort to like, because I didn't know anything about the transgender community. I will admit until MAGA kept throwing it in my face because
you
they're the
had
ones that like
to
to talk
learn
about it
about
all the
it.
fucking time, right? Yeah. So I'm
Right.
like, what is going on? So finally, I started learning a little bit, looking stuff up. We started having people on our show. You know what I mean? Mike has a friend he went to college with,
Mhm.
who the transgender woman. You know what I mean? So like, we just all these things came together, and now it's like,
We actually
I wish
reconnected
people would
over this
just
show.
understand that like we got to start treating people like just people. I don't
Well, but we
understand why
don't
that's
teach
so
that.
hard.
I don't think that, see, that's the thing. We talk about the hypocrisy of people calling themselves Christians or religious or compassionate, whatever. It comes down to, look, there might be bad seeds and you can do whatever you can to raise a good kid and they might turn out to be lunatics. Fine. But
Mhm.
in general, like, kids mostly turn out based on how they were raised in the sense that what they're
Yeah.
exposed to. So if you have a
Right.
bunch of people that are afraid of things they don't understand, they're not going to let their kids be exposed to it. That's the fundamental problem with, the schools going on now, is all these
Right.
ignorant people are so terrified of something that they don't understand, that is already around them, has always been around them,
Mhm.
is in their family, and if they were pretty honest, would probably be something that they need to talk about with themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they still hate it.
Yeah.
That's why it's important that we have to be willing to listen. So I
Mhm.
think our side has the longer fight, because we are willing to take the time to learn, get to know, and work together, not just say, all right, you're going to follow me, but it's going to be my plan. People
Mhm.
like Jeremy and I, we don't get to make the plan. Okay. The
Right.
LGBTQIA community gets to make the plan. Black people, brown people get to make the plan. We just have
Mhm.
to try and correct the errors we did. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people. This is not an excuse, but to accept you don't get to fix a problem. You don't get to decide how the course of everything goes. Sometimes you got to shut up and listen.
Yeah, to have a coalition, we need to, like, try to do our best to make sure that everyone's needs are getting met and, that their concerns are being addressed, you know? I do wanna go back to what you said about, like, that kids end up how they're raised.
Hmm.
Um, that can be true to some extent with
To
a
some
lot of
extent.
folks, but sometimes you end up with a curious kid.
Yeah.
You ju and I was that, like, I grew
Like,
up, like, in the rural South, and, I remember, like, learning that, like, the world was bigger than what I had been told, when I
yep.
was in kindergarten. Like, I, do you know the "Eeny, meeny, miny, moe"
Catch.
poem?
Oh, yep. I know where you're going.
My
Oh, boy.
grandmother taught me that
Yep.
poem,
The
and
Oh
she did
original.
wow.
not teach me the tiger version,
No, nope.
and I repeated it in class,
You don't
and
even
my
know.
teacher, like, brought me out into the hallway and explained to me what that word meant,
Yep.
and I was mortified. I was like,
Oh my
I
god.
because
Because
I
you have
felt
actual
so
empathy.
horrible, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, maybe my grandmother's not very nice." Like,
It's funny you say
and
that.
Yeah, I had that realization at
like,
one
I
point.
learned something. I was like, why would my grandmother,
Yep.
say a song like that? Like, why did
Yep.
she teach that to me? Like, I felt betrayed, you
Yep.
Mhm.
know? And but, like, that was, like, one of the earliest moments I remember of, like, some people have beliefs that are harmful, you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Passive or dominant belief. Some people, like it's funny because I think, we're all a similar age where we had the grandparents, like my grandma, one of my grandmothers. She's not here anymore, but she was a great lady. Could not tell a story about anyone she met that didn't involve letting you know if they were black or not.
what their race was.
And she was
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
in any way a racist person. She truly was not. But that's where the difference is. There's people from
But
that
she
generation that are racist, but she developed those racist
those things that are just,
microaggressions,
like,
those things.
internalized, yeah, that,
Mhm.
like, are
But then I
just
had
from
an
your
uncle,
surroundings.
that grandmother's one of her brothers. When I got older, boy, did I hear some words that I didn't know existed. Because
Mhm.
that guy would just drop the racial slurs, and I would be like,
I have an
"What are
uncle like that.
those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
What
an
the
uncle
hell
like
is
that.
this?" And then I was
Um,
old enough to know that, with my grandma, when I was a little kid, I didn't think about it. As I got older, I'm like, "Grandma, you don't have to tell me she's black." You know, and then I
Right.
knew that she didn't mean it when she'd be like, "What do you mean? I just want to describe her to you." I'm like, "Fuck, all right." But then when I was older, I knew that her brother, my uncle, when you
Mhm.
say things in a certain tone, you can't hide what you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so growing up, like, in that environment, I still, like, had this, like, I don't it was almost like a sixth sense. I was like, "This is wrong. Like, what these people are saying is not
Yep.
right."
You just know
And,
instinctively for some reason.
and so, like, I grew up, and I think that it was, like, possibly a little bit of self-preservation too, because there was, like, a lot of, like, me acting the way I acted and being heavily discouraged, let's just say,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and
Force those kids
so
in a box. We got to make sure you fit
yeah,
in one of those
and
boxes.
so I talk about boxes, like, on my show a lot, like, that, like, I think that a lot of the anti-queer, anti-trans, like, sentiment comes from, um, this idea that we are all, like, given a box when we're born, and
Hmm.
we're put into that box, and that box is made of expectations, and it's fashioned by our parents, by the extended family, by the community, by the
Hmm.
society that we live in, and, so it might some of it might be gender-based, some of it might not be, so there you're expected to continue in the family's
Yep.
belief system, you're expected to stay close to home and not go far away to college, you're supposed to take over the family
I
business,
was just
you're
carry the
supposed to
name,
yeah, you're
all
supposed to
that
yes, you're
bullshit.
supposed to have kids, you have to
That sacred
give your
name.
parents grandkids, yeah, pass on the family name, all of these things, right? And maybe you wanted to be a musician and travel the world and be a vagabond, or
No, no,
maybe
no.
you
No kid of
wanted to
mine will be a musician or an actor
right,
I
or an
wanted
or
to be
the
a
artist.
artist.
professional
I remember
skateboarder.
when I was gonna go to art school, my dad said, like, like, "What are you gonna do? Like, make Hallmark cards? Like, design Hallmark" that was literally the only thing he could think of an artist could do.
That's probably boring, but a great
As a
job.
job
Probably
probably.
pays really
Probably
well,
one
I'm
of the
sure.
most steady paychecks, but, like
Yeah.
Right?
but that's the only way he could think of it, was like,
Everything
how
is
do you
art.
make the money? And, like and
Yep.
it's like,
Right.
"Bro, you
That's all
didn't
that
make any
matters.
money. What are you talking
Well, but
about?"
that's based on our
Yeah.
society
Yeah.
accepting that capitalism is the way of nature for some reason.
Right. Yeah. So it's like you can't do something that you enjoy if, like, you're not going to make a good live quote unquote good living at it. And
Yep.
but but anyway, so, like, we're given this, like, box of expectations, and so, and some people will just stay in that box, and they will
Hmm.
go through their life, even if it's ill-fitting and it's uncomfortable, and they're always
Yep.
getting, like, sore back from being in this stupid box,
Yep.
that is keeping them reined in. And there's decisions they would love to have made, but that would have taken them outside the box, so they stayed in the box, and they did
Mhm.
the dutiful thing, and then they see a queer person or
Hmm.
a trans person
Blows their mind.
who's like, "This box sucks."
Yeah.
Just smashes it apart and walks away, and they're like,
What asshole
"That's not
designed this box?
fair. You can't do that. We're not supposed to get out of the box. I stayed in my box.
You
Like,
know,
how dare you?"
that's a
And
good
that's where some of that, like, vitriol, I
oh,
think,
that's a
comes from.
scary thought because that's something one of the reason I'm against like kitty pageants and people push and like, little kitty sports and
Those
stuff
are
is because it's
weird.
almost always parents that are like, well, I didn't get this chance, now you do.
You
So
do
Mhm.
I
the
think
thing that
there's a
I couldn't do.
so I
You
think a
know
lot of the hate that we're seeing from the boomer generation MAGA is because they weren't allowed to be queer. They weren't
Mhm.
allowed to be themselves or even identify as anything. They couldn't even go to, you could be as cis as you
Yeah.
want, and your
It's
dad would have
sometimes
beaten you
yeah,
if you wanted
it's
to go to art
yeah,
school.
it sometimes can be that direct, but sometimes it is just that little
Of course.
subtle, like breaking the gender norm thing. Yeah,
Yep.
like having an art career, a career in the arts rather than like business or law
But
or
the idea that
it
they
was
don't,
doctor.
weird.
they get bitter. It's like the same people that
Yeah,
are like, well, I had a
You know
struggle. Well, you want your kids to struggle? We're supposed to move the society forward so no one has to struggle. If it's
right.
just being miserable because you had a struggle, that's just how nature. It's like
Yeah,
people are fighting the way evolution works and in denying it at the same time.
right.
You're experiencing evolution. Society gets better because it weeds out the shitty ideas. You're
Mhm.
the shitty idea.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Well, and it's also it's like the, like hazing. It's like
Yeah,
hazing with life,
Yeah.
so
right.
it's like I had to get, like, beat on and
Yeah, I had to
like,
lick
all of
that
this
goat.
stuff, so,
You have
like,
to lick
you
that
got to
goat.
get beat on. Yeah, like, This is just the way it is.
Right?
Right.
I don't think maybe that's why I turned out the way I did, because I don't think my parents really had any expectations of me. I never had a box, man.
You're a
I was
free-form
always
child. They were like, no box for
maybe
you,
that's
fucker.
why everybody thought I was fucking weird my whole life, because I've always been
It was
outside the
like,
box.
why'd you
I
have a
have
box?
never
That's
lived
weird.
inside the box.
Yeah,
Every
but
time
I
I've
was the
tried to
kid that
live
was
inside
like,
the
this
box,
isn't a box. This
I've
is a
been
castle.
miserable.
Fuck you.
Yeah, every time I've tried to do the right, like the corporate job or like what people expect of me, I've always been miserable. Honestly, doing this now, as broke as I am doing this show and like as impoverished and humble as I am in my life right now, I'm more satisfied with myself than I have
Mhm.
ever been. Like,
Yeah.
I can honestly say I have self-respect now, which is something I lost for a long, long
A
time.
lot of people beat that out of their kids.
They
They
do.
do.
They do.
Verbally,
Unfortunately.
not
sure.
just with hands, but like
And I tell my
emotionally,
kids,
we
man,
force kids to be what other people want them.
I tell my kids,
Mhm.
if you're gonna do something, do it when you're young. Like pursue
But
your passion now, because when you get to
oh
my
yeah,
age, you start pursuing your passion. Everybody thinks you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
well,
But
And some of those passions you might be a little too sore to do.
yeah, that's true.
true,
No more,
true.
yeah, no
Yeah,
more
I'm not
snowboarding for
reliving
me.
any of my old sporting
I'm not
days.
gonna
But
try rock climbing at 43
no,
years
I
old.
ran the mile in under 5 minutes in high school. Okay, that is never gonna happen again. And
Right.
yeah,
I
so yeah, I'm
walked a
never
mile in like
reliving
20
my
minutes.
sporting days. That's for sure.
So let's look at some stuff going on recently because
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I want your opinion because like I said earlier, there's only so much perspective Jeremy and I can give to things. We could point out what we think is wrong, but a lot of times I worry that messages need that more not emotional note, but I can't explain it. It needs a perspective that is touched by these issues. So
Right.
let's
Right.
go through a couple of things. One thing I wanted to start with specifically, because I knew that you were a veteran, is I wanted to talk about the attacks on trans people and the military, and really what amounts to an attack on the military itself. So,
Yeah.
military commanders are to be told to send transgender troops to medical checks to oust them. First of all, that is a big betrayal by your commanding officer. So, that
Yeah.
breaks down the
Mhm.
fundamental trust in the military. But let's keep going. Military commanders will be told to identify troops in their units who are transgender or have gender dysphoria, then send them to get medical checks in order to force them out of service. And the new order to commanders relies on routine annual health checks that service members are required to undergo. Another defense official said the Defense Department has scrapped, for now, plans to go through troops' health records to identify those with gender dysphoria. Instead, transgender troops who do not voluntarily come forward could be outed by commanders or others aware of their medical status. Gender dysphoria occurs, we know. Okay, so my big concern about this, other than the obvious go fuck yourself,
I
and
want to
the
add
way I
something.
crafted the topics today is we're going to get to some of these things as I build on it. And one of them is the perception that you can identify someone as trans by the way they look is something that
Right.
we are watching be allowed
Right.
to be put into the cultural mentality. And
Yeah.
this is one of those things because if you're not outing yourself and the commander doesn't know you have said, hey, I might be trans, I might have gender dysphoria, which why the fuck would you ever tell your commander now
Right.
in
You
this
wouldn't.
environment? But
You
Well, a
wouldn't.
do
lot
you
of them
not think it's
already did though, because
exactly
they
that's
were
the
like
problem?
because of it like being put forward and then it went to the
Yes.
court. But like when it immediately came forward, some people outed themselves then because they were like, what do
Yep.
I do?
Yep.
You know?
It's fear, and that's what they
And
Can
want.
you guys? Can
Mhm.
we add something to all this? That is just the irony of it. Just kills me. Can we? Can we? You know how they're doing this because they want a more macho, tough military, while
Mhm.
simultaneously building a makeup room for the guy who runs it all. Can
I
we at
saw
least?
that. Yeah.
That's great, and they're denying that, of
Ironic.
course. They're denying it, of
Mhm.
course. But it's like these people are such a
Good old
joke.
keg's breath.
And what? And their obsession, and they have an odd
Keg's breath.
obsession.
Wait a minute.
They had kegs. That's a good
That's
one.
a good one. I know.
I
They
stole
have
that, I think, from Matt, so I
Oh,
can't
that's a
claim it.
good one.
the Republicans have an
Or maybe
odd,
Steve.
unhealthy obsession with what's in people's pants.
Mhm.
It is
Yes, they
something
are.
that
They
should be
they
studied in the
need to
future.
know. Well,
They have problems.
here you
So
go. Oh, what would you want to say?
well, I was just gonna say, yeah, like there's it's problematic on a lot of fronts because is that picture backwards? It is backwards. Dang it.
That's okay.
Um, oh wow.
I'm bad
Y'all
with
get
that.
y'all get the idea. It's
Yep.
it's anti-fascist and it's Tifa.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
so
see, I like that.
I like
That's a good one.
so if they're trying to because the way the directive is stated, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it says something like if you've had been diagnosed with gender dysphoria or show signs of symptoms of gender dysphoria,
Oh, so now
so
these commanders
they
are
can.
experts at that?
Yeah, it's
What does that even
so
mean?
now that people could accuse each other of it,
Exactly.
and
Oh my
also
God.
another thing, you don't have to have had a prior diagnosis if you just decide you don't want to go on this deployment. Hey, Sarge, I'm trans.
Yeah. They don't think that.
And
Their brains don't work
Yeah.
that far ahead.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so
how about this? How many people are they actually worried about? I think is something we need to look at, because they should go fuck themselves. Officials have said that as
Truly.
of December 9th, 2024, there were 4,240 troops, quote, diagnosed with gender dysphoria in the active duty,
there's
National
far more
Guard,
than that.
and Reserve. But they acknowledge the number may be higher. Ooh, boogity boogity. There are about 2.1 million total troops serving. That means, just like with all the trans athletes that they're terrified of, we're talking about 0.2%. A statistical, it doesn't fucking matter.
It's actually much higher than that.
Of course it is.
Because there are quite a number that served the way that I did, who were trans, and I served my entire 6-year enlistment without being out, so I wasn't even out to myself at the time, but I had gender dysphoria the entire time. Let's be clear. And I just didn't know how to describe it.
You didn't have the language.
But in any case, there is estimated by Sparta, which is like a sort of advocacy group for trans service members and veterans, that is run by one of the people, Commander Emily Schilling, who is a freaking Navy test pilot. Do you know
People
how
need to
freaking skilled
understand.
you have to be?
Badass to be a
She's a
test
Top
pilot.
Gun. She's
You're
a Top
not
Gun.
just you're not just a pissy little fighter pilot. You're
Yeah,
the
no.
one that tests the shit that
She
no one
has
has the balls to
had
go into.
over. So she's the president of
crazy.
Sparta. She's had over 60 combat missions and over 1,700 flight hours in high performance jets.
What?
Sounds like a DEI hire to me.
She's a freaking badass, is what she is.
You gotta be to get an
But
experimental aircraft.
according to that organization, they estimate about somewhere around 15,000 transgender service members currently.
So
and that about 73% of those are senior enlisted personnel with 12 to 21 years of experience.
Wow.
Their calculations estimate the total, because they got a little bit of inside knowledge,
Yeah, of course.
that the total operational investment in those service members is going to be upwards of $176,000 per year per person, amounting to about $18 billion in capital investment. And then if they just wipe those out, and we're talking like medical professionals, like high tech, high skill positions,
because people think everyone in the military is just shooting at things. The
right,
support
no.
staff needed to run.
These
a
are
military.
officers, right? These are NCOs, and they are like in charge of people. They help train people, and they're just going poof, bye.
That's crazy.
That we're just throwing that investment away.
Yeah, most people don't know that only 30% or less, I think, even of the military, that active duty and reserved, is in fighting positions. Like most of it is logistical and support.
Yeah, so all of the stuff about like their medical ability to serve, like they're not deployable. Bullshit. I was deployable for 6 years. Not every trans person is getting surgery. Most of the ones who are enlisted don't end up transitioning during their enlistment, especially if they're on like a short, enlistment. The ones who aren't lifers. But even Emily Schilling transitioned. She was out for like a few months, and she was back. Like maybe 2-3 months tops, and she was back. Like there are service members like through every branch that have had, deferments for longer than that.
I just find it funny that
it's an individual thing, right? Like, and not every trans person is going to go through an entire transition. Also, by the way, She paid for the entire thing herself.
Well, they're trying to blame, like, that's what they're doing with Medicaid too. They're blaming the
Oh,
trans
yeah.
community on Medicaid because they're saying that Medicaid is paying for genital. This is from
I know.
KK Caroline, the
Uh,
White House press secretary, that the Medicaid is paying for genital mutilation surgeries for kids. And me and Mike have gone
Are you
over this
talking about
before a million times.
circumcisions? Are you talking about
No.
circumcision? No, the
Yeah, right. That's,
completely
well,
like
yeah, I guess that's
unnecessary.
technically
you can't
right.
bring
That
that up to
technically
them.
is, yeah. And that's normal
That's a
every
good one.
people.
Are you talking about whenever they take an intersex baby and just
Oh,
decide it's gender for them? When if they have ambiguous genitalia and
know,
they just like do that when they're like
it's
not even able to speak
They
yet?
don't get it.
it's
They don't get it.
fascinating that you brought
No,
that
we're
up
not talking
because
about that, right?
I think one of my examples later goes over someone mentioning that later with one of the bills coming up about erasing basically to define trans out of existence. They're basically ignoring the fact that intersex people exist.
Yeah,
And people
right.
do
So they're
not
erasing them
understand.
as well. Yeah,
It's the same reason that they don't do genetic testing in sports because they tried to do that in the
and they
90s
kept
and they
finding
realized
intersex
most of the
women.
people that are in
Yeah.
sports, their genetics do not match the gender that they
Right.
show to
Well,
the
and
world.
also
And that
like
would blow
a
people's
particular
fucking
amount of
brains.
like athletic training will increase like a woman's
Yep.
testosterone. And so it's dependent on the sport and activity,
Yep.
but yeah, human bodies are fascinating and complicated and nothing fits into these neat
Must
binaries
fit
that they
in
want.
box.
It just
Must
Right.
fit
doesn't
in
it
box.
doesn't work like
Right.
that.
Well, they want to create a whole like master race. These people, like,
Oh
they
yeah, it's
actually
all
Yeah.
well.
believe
This
in
is part.
eugenics,
Look,
the selective breeding, and they
you
believe in
know
all
what
that shit.
playbook this is from? It's the same page they're on. They're following. It says step 1: go after these people. They're
Mhm.
not even hiding it.
Oh,
No.
But
no.
like,
I mean, it
and
happens in 1933 too. They did
Yep.
the same thing.
It's the
They did
same
that. They
thing.
went after GAY and trans people.
And look,
And they erased all the scientific data.
Yep.
They did that via burning
Yep.
at the
Yeah.
time,
That was
but
the first book burning.
it was.
Yay!
It
Burning
was
medical histories and science books.
the Institute of Sexology,
Mhm.
founded by Magnus Hirschfeld, who himself was Jewish and a gay man.
Ooh, the double whammy.
And he was a doctor, and he researched. He had decades and decades of research on GAY and trans existence and how that happens and how to help treat it both like psychologically and physically. And he had many transgender patients who he was helping to transition. And they came in, ransacked the place, took all the books out into the
Yep.
street and burned them.
Yep.
And now we're seeing the digital version of that with
Oh, yeah.
the Trump
are.
administration trying to eliminate records of us
Yep.
throughout all of the scientific data,
Yep.
at the NIH, at the CDC, at the FDA, as well as removing us from our own monuments, like Stonewall,
That's crazy.
Oh,
as
yeah.
if
Well, they're
trans
even-
people were not there.
Right.
And
Well,
Trans
they're even-
people, that's what
not like trans and gender non-conforming, people, especially like people of color,
that's what
were
started all
like
this.
the people who
Yes.
took charge of the GAY liberation movement.
And who's the
Damn,
most
I'm doing TikTok
endangered
talk.
group of people right now in America? As always, trans Black women.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and
it
well,
never
let's
changed.
look at what they are doing, right? Because here we go. Texas judge
Yeah.
strikes down protections for trans people in the workplace. This is one of those sneaky fucking things when you have a scumbag judge that's like, yeah, I'm going to read it in the way that Trump wants me to read it, or more accurately, read it in the way Project 2025 wants me to read
Yes.
it.
Thank you
U.S.
for
District Judge.
I try not to say the Trump administration
You're right.
or
It's all
Trump
Project
did this.
2025.
This has been in the works. This anti-trans stuff has been in
You're
the
right.
works for 10
It's-
years.
yeah,
It's been
you're right.
before Trump. It started after Obergefell. So Obergefell was decided in 2014. That's
Yep.
the SCOTUS case, for those of you who don't know, that made gay marriage legal. And so they needed a new folk devil, boogeyman, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
because they had been railing about how gay marriage was going to destroy the sanctity of marriage, and people are going to be marrying fire hydrants and giraffes and roller coasters.
What a marriage
And
giraffe.
weirdly, none of that happened.
I was
But
promised a taco truck on every corner too, but what the fuck?
right.
I know.
And so they needed a new boogeyman, and they picked trans people. They
Yep.
were like, people don't
Mhm.
understand
Well,
them. It'll
let's
be
see. We
easy to
always
confuse people about
look
them.
for the smallest group that's
Mhm.
the most in danger, that everyone's already like,
And
fuck them.
and then tell everybody that we need to protect women and
The
children from this group.
children.
Yes.
The children.
Every freaking time. And then when they punish that group, they
Yep.
they just got to repeat the rhetoric over and over
Yep.
again, make it fit the narrative. They've done it over and over again.
Yep.
They did it during Jim Crow. They did it
It's a playbook.
from the
Mhm.
50s to the 70s against the gay and lesbian community.
Yep.
Lesbians shouldn't be in bathrooms with straight women and girls. It's the same
You know
thing.
what?
They called it Save the Children back then with Anita
Yeah.
Bryant. Now they called it hang on, let me pull it up. But this was the Alliance Defending Freedom, the American
Mhm.
Principles
I've
Project, the Eagle
I've heard of
Forum,
Yep.
Heritage Foundation,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
National
talked about them a
Policy
lot.
Alliance, and about a dozen other think tanks. They got together, they started writing model
Yep.
legislation, they started writing the rhetoric and just repeating it.
I have a
Yep.
And it
theory.
just built and built and built year after year.
They're going to
Yeah.
supplant existing law and precedent with stuff they've been building for decades and go, look,
Mhm.
this is normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory about all of this, and I'm pretty sure Mike and I have probably already proved it, but I've told our followers that one of these days I'm gonna do an extremely deep dive into the Heritage Foundation, because I believe that there is a shadow government running the country, and it is the Heritage Foundation. They are passing bills that they write to Donald Trump. The only
Or
ones
they've
that
been
Donald Trump writes are the dumb fuck ones, like, oh, paper straws are banned. Shut up, dude.
or
But all
like
these other ones are straight out of
this law
2025.
firm made me upset. And like,
Yeah.
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 Uh,
It's so pathetic. But the Heritage Foundation has been trying to do this since their inception. They've been trying to
well,
do it since Reagan, to get in the White House, to put their
Yes.
crazy. And the reason we're in this situation is because Trump implemented 60 some odd% of their policies. Project 2025 is not this is the final iteration.
No, yeah.
This
Oh,
is
yeah,
not
no.
the first
40
version
This
of
is
years
the
this
in the
go
plan.
plan.
making. 40
This
years
is the
in the
40
making.
years
Yeah,
in the
they've
making
been
and
going
billions
over
of dollars.
revisions for years.
Mhm.
Years.
And they
That's
found
what it's
somebody
all been.
stupid
Well, let's look.
and gullible enough
It's
to do it.
it's
Mhm.
easy to make fun of Texas. They do it to themselves. I'm actually going to skip a couple of the Texas stuff because I want to show how this is getting towards the national level. So, a new House bill would make Trump ban on transgender troops permanent. First on Fox, of course, I had to go look for that. A new House GOP bill would make President Shithead's executive order banning transgender troops in the military a permanent federal policy. Rep. Barry Moore, Republican from Alabama, my bad, is introducing the legislation this week and told Fox News Digital that his office has been in contact with Trump administration on the measure. Okay, so who is Barry Moore? Okay, is he
I've
someone
already
we should
heard of
take
him.
seriously? He's
No.
got full of tough guy talk. This is,
Mhm.
and I quote from him,
As soon as I saw
what we
him.
had with this trans movement was, notice how he says it's in the past
Had?
tense, by
Yeah,
the
we
way.
don't
Yep,
exist anymore.
yep.
I'm
They fixed
fading
that
away like
problem.
Marty McFly right now, y'all.
Yo, I wish that was funny, but it just isn't. But it's funny. But like, you're right. That's what they think. Anyway, what we had with this trans movement was we had a bunch of people coming in, signing a 6-year contract, talking about the military here, and
Yeah.
then starting the surgeries and
That
starting
never
the hormone
happens.
replacements. This is exactly what you said. They weren't fit for service, so they spent 4 or 5 years on the taxpayers' dime, blah, 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 blah.
None of that
Okay.
happens.
This is more interesting to me because this is someone
Yeah.
where we get into the whole, these people think they're tough guys and they're not. I think in many ways the taxpayers get a much bigger bang for their buck. Number one, said Moore, a veteran. And number two, I think that if I'm looking at joining, these guys are really focused on fighting. And if I'm in the foxhole with these guys, these are people I've trained with. They're capable. You've got to have that on the battlefield. Notice how that doesn't in any way explain how a trans woman is a threat to that, but
Or a
Yeah.
trans man, or
Or
a
a trans-
non-binary
well,
person
we
who
all know that they
isn't
don't
on hormones
believe-
at all. Like,
they
you
don't
know,
even know that trans men exist, by the way.
I know.
I'm pretty sure I've never been in
Dude,
combat.
I have
Yeah.
seen some trans men who could rip me in half.
Oh, yeah.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say that real
this
quick.
is
I've never
just a
been in
stepping
combat.
stone to them removing women
Of
from the
course,
military.
of
Oh
course.
By
yeah,
the way,
that's
And
the
from
next step. Yeah.
voting and all of that. So, well, what foxholes has he been in? Now, I am not mocking anyone's service, especially because I have never served. But I want to point out someone that is talking about foxholes and how manly he is and how manly everyone that serves is. Let's just see what he's done. So he was Alabama National Guard and Reserves. He served in the Alabama National Guard and Reserves for 6 years. Okay. ROTC Army Ranger Challenge Team. While at Auburn University, Moore was a member of the Army Ranger Challenge Team within the ROTC program. Great. Chairman of Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. Oh, wow. Okay. During his time in the Alabama State House, Moore served as the chairman of the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. What I'm trying to find out is where in there he had to worry about foxholes. That's what I'm
Yeah, and
concerned about.
I'm not, I was gonna say I've never been in
Yeah.
combat. I'm pretty sure though, if you're getting mortared or bombed or you're under fire, the last thing you're thinking about is what the person next to you
Yeah.
identifies as.
I
Seriously.
forgot.
It's
I
so-
forgot.
And
who's
here's the
dumb.
thing though, like that, because I know some current like trans service members, and their units are on their side. They're fucking gutted
course.
by this. Like they're
Right.
losing their friends.
That's
you know.
what is being enlightened, or I've been enlightened to recently, is that we are less at risk of our current active service members siding with the orange piece of shit than I was afraid they would be. And stuff like this is galvanizing their
Right.
resolve to support their fellow soldiers.
Mhm.
More
I
than
mean,
anything.
there's chuckleheads that are like,
Of
oh,
course.
yeah, get rid of the
They're-
T-slurs.
Sure.
But
everywhere, yeah.
the thing is that like what he just described, that they're just coming in and cashing in, which is ridiculous. Like how many
I think everybody's
how many people do you know joined up to get college paid for?
A lot.
A
actually,
fuck
yeah.
ton.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they go to the poor places to recruit? Because they can offer people
College
the
is one of the
GI
main
Bill.
incentives, yeah.
Yeah,
They
and
dangle
they
it.
can offer them a pension and insurance and all that.
Signing
like,
bonuses. I mean,
signing bonuses. Absolutely. Like,
right.
yes, that's people get incentives. And you know what? For trans people, a lot of times the reason why they join is because if it wasn't that, they'd be in the fucking street.
That's very true. That is very
Because
true.
they got kicked out of the house at 17.
See, that's
right?
the one thing
Like,
that makes our military, made our military great, is the fact that anybody could join. Well, I mean, obviously, but somebody brought
you
it. I
gotta
think it was
pass. You
Diane.
gotta meet the
Yeah.
standards, and you gotta pass the FAFSA.
That's
And you
it.
got or not FAFSA. The you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That's that,
It's
yeah.
been a while. Is that
Yeah.
right? Did I do it right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I think I was getting it confused with something else.
I think the ASVAB is what you're thinking of.
Well,
ASVAB. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's
Um,
interesting? Oh,
But
Right,
but
so-
and you've got to meet the physical standards. You got to meet
Mhm.
the psychological standards. Like all of that is applicable to trans service members as well. Like, and if they can't on an individual basis meet those
yeah,
standards,
fine.
then
Right.
they
There's no
go. They get a
exception, yeah.
medical discharge.
you
It's
there's
the
a
same
lot-
for anything else.
A lot more mediocre cis men in the military than trans people who could probably run laps around
Dude,
them, jump
there were-
over things.
There were people passing out information like
course.
constantly in boot camp, and people that just like was like, you have no business being here, you know, and they found out in short order and ended up like ended up washing out.
Yeah.
And okay, they took their shot. They didn't get there. But like if a trans service member can go through training and they can meet,
Do
like the standards as the same as everybody else and remain deployable, then fucking what's the point of a
Man,
blanket ban?
I've
What I
seen
find-
men much bigger and tougher than me cry during training.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
What I find funny is
if
that
you
we're
can make it
talking
through,
about
you deserve to be there.
Americans who worship. I'm not getting into the debate. I'm about to say a name of a country of. I'm just proving a point. People that are worshiping Israel right now. Guess who serves in the Israeli military? Like women. So
Mhm.
chill the fuck out.
Yeah, they're big bad military that trains our
Yeah.
folks over here.
Yeah.
Also another thing when they want to talk about cost, that guy was talking about
Oh, yeah.
cost. So let me get to that. So the estimated cost of all trans healthcare for all of these service members, and this is estimated because like for some of them, they're doing this on their own dime a lot of
Mhm.
times because of TRICARE and everything dealing with
Yeah.
that. Sometimes they just pay out of pocket. But like Emily Schilling did, she did the surgeries that she needed to do. She wanted to go to the surgeon she wanted to go to. It's very specialized care, and so she did it herself. So it was about 2.4 to 8.4 million dollars per year estimated, right?
Wait, in
2.4 to
total?
yeah, in total. Estimated for all of the transgender service
They
members for
charge
their
more
health
than
care.
that for one hammer.
That's
Uh-huh.
nothing.
For, a box of Band-Aids, basically.
My fuck.
But yeah, so that's how much that costs. Roughly 2 point. So that's how much it costs. 2.4 to 8.4. Sorry, I'm stumbling over this. By contrast, though, total military spending on erectile dysfunction medication, $84 million annually
Sorry.
for boners.
Sorry.
And you know what the thing about that is? That's not going to anyone but
Nobody
all the
touching that.
officers. The
But
officers are taking that all for
Yeah.
themselves.
Nobody
But
touching that.
isn't that gender affirming care? Like it makes you want to be more like a
Yes.
man. You want to
Yes.
get
That comes from an analysis from the Military Times, by the way. So, and that is
That's
10
delicious.
to 35 times the
That-
cost of annual medical care for active duty trans.
Look, boners are God's will.
That's funny.
Okay.
And
Right.
again, let's remind you, if we're talking about fiscal responsibility, they are throwing away roughly $18 billion in
Thanks,
their
Chris.
experience
Right.
that has been invested in their experience. And now they're going to have to spend another $1 billion to train new recruits. And that's just to get them in the fucking door,
Yep.
and get them through boot camp. And so get them through basic AIT, $1 billion, almost
Yep.
$1 billion. It was like $974
Mhm.
billion. And then you got to wait a decade.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And there's
'cause-
another $18 billion.
Right.
Yep.
15, $18 million to
Yeah.
get them back to square one where we're at right now.
Because recruits don't know shit when they get out of boot camp. We don't know anything.
Right.
That's
And they're like,
boot camp is to
well,
make
what if
sure you can
you have
handle
to,
the
you're
physicals.
medicated your whole life. Like, what
Yeah.
if you miss your shot? I
Yep.
was like, I missed my shot last week and I
Like,
didn't
you
notice
don't
for
just
5 days.
Poof!
I was fine. Like,
It's not a spell, guys. You don't need the Horcrux. Like,
yeah,
fucking
I
chill
literally,
out,
I
learn.
have a vial like this.
Yeah.
I take a tiny little bit of it
Little bit.
into a syringe once a week.
Little bit.
So that little bottle lasts me like 2 months.
Yeah. You keep it.
So
right there.
I'm good for a good long time with one little bottle.
Meanwhile,
I
you
got
got
2 little
guys.
bottles.
How many soldiers are
I'm
popping
good for
pills
life.
walking into battle with boners? Like, I'm more worried
Yeah.
about that. 'Cause that shit
That
could
would
give
be
us
weird.
away.
It wouldn't
That
be
would be
needed for
weird.
out there.
No, but something
Yeah.
you said earlier about how this is the stepping stone to getting women out of the
Yes,
military.
because it is
And
the language that they will
of
then
course,
use against
yeah,
us.
that's exactly it.
Mhm.
And what I
They're
find
just
even more
practices.
terrifying.
You're gonna let this slide. You let this slide. Great. Now we can have the same argument against women.
Yep.
Undeployable. They're a
the-
danger. You already hear it. You already
Of
hear them
course,
talking
of
about
course.
it.
Well, and I think
Hegseth
actually
talked about it.
James is in the chat right now, and he had addressed, people saying we need to carry people out. That's not happening the amount of times you think it is. And guess what? If they pass the basic training, they can.
They can.
So that's
They've
literally
trained to do it.
how that works.
Right.
Guess what part of
Mhm.
basic training is? Picking up heavy shit and lugging it up a
And
fucking
also
mountain.
doing a metric fuck ton of
Yeah.
diamond push-ups.
Like,
right,
there
right.
is no one. All these armchair soldiers wouldn't last 1 minute against the shittiest soldier that we have right now.
Yeah.
Because they still physically have to pass standards.
Right.
I mean, we got MAGA dudes with beer guts and stained
Gravy
wife
seals.
beaters out in their
Yeah.
front yard. Like,
Right.
yeah, I bet you if we had a war right now, like,
I
shut
could
the
hit a
fuck
beer
up,
can
bro.
at 10 feet.
Just shut up, you
So
freak.
you
Just go sit
tip
down
you,
before you
you're
have a
gonna
heart
roll
attack.
over.
What I
Yeah.
want to point out about the cis women, and I say that specifically because we are now seeing in real world in America what we saw during the Olympics. You don't look woman enough.
Mhm.
2 cis
Right.
women were kicked out of a Boston hotel bathroom after one was ordered to prove sex. Obviously, this person is probably
What?
belonging to the party of creeps. But
Mhm.
the hotel says it has suspended the security guard responsible to conduct mandatory training. Fascinating, you have to train people. Queer couple
Yeah.
said they were ordered to leave a Boston hotel on Saturday after a security officer demanded one of the women to show identification to prove her sex while using the woman's restroom. Both women are cisgender. In an
Mhm.
online Google review of a Liberty Hotel published on Monday, Boston.com reports that Elizabeth Victor said the security officer approached her girlfriend Ansley Baker, while she was in a stall using the toilet. The couple was attending a Kentucky Derby party at the hotel. According to Victor, Baker was forcibly removed from the women's restroom by staff. And this
Mhm.
is what she said. All of a sudden, there
Um,
was banging on the door. I pulled up my shorts. I hadn't even tied them. One of the security guards was there telling me to get out of the bathroom, that I was a man in the woman's bathroom. As they were being escorted out of the restroom, Baker told the outlet that the women waiting in line heckled her. Someone said, "Get him out of there," referring to me. He's a creep, also referring to her. I mean, it's happening. So now
mhm.
it's you're not pretty, or you don't have the right
Is
shape,
it?
or your hair color
Yeah.
doesn't match what I think it should.
In South Carolina the other day, a trans man, um, facial hair, all that jazz, right? Um, he was like, he went to go pick up his friend at a bar, who was a cisgender woman, and he's a trans guy, remember.
Mhm.
All right, so for those of y'all who don't understand, trans people in the chat, opposite of me, okay? Right? The other way, right? So beard, all that, so short hair, men's clothes, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so he went to go pick her up, and he had to, like, when he got there, he had to pee like super duper bad. And she was like dilly dallying around talking to her buddies and stuff. And he went to pick her up because she, had had too many. And so he's completely sober. But he's got to go real bad. And so she goes with him over to, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. We're literally in South Carolina. He peeks into the men's room and he sees it's like urinals, no stalls. Like, not, and he's like, okay,
All
that's
right.
not working. Because he didn't have his like stand device, because trans guys do have that sometimes.
Yep.
They have a stand device where they can
Mhm.
stand at the urinal.
Mhm.
But so he was like, fuck. And the owner came over and was like, what are y'all doing? And basically they tried to explain to the owner what was going
Yep.
on. It's like, I'm a trans guy, like I don't want to go into the ladies' room, but like like, and she was um like, go, hurry up. And then he went in with his friend. Nobody else was in the bathroom, and it was just the two of them, and he went in the stall, was literally sitting on the toilet. Then the male owner comes in. I guess it was like the other one's owner, or the owner's husband, there's the co-owners or whatever, bursts in, starts screaming at them. The lady owner's head is over the thing, like staring down at
Oh
her. Fucking
my
his
goodness.
pants are at his ankles, like.
These
And
people are sick.
they
They are gross.
dragged his friend out, and then when he got done, like, then they dragged him out and threw him into the hands of a cop. They had roughed him up and stuff. The cops roughed him up. They charged him with drunken disorderly and trespassing
What?
for literally going in the bathroom that the transphobes want him to go into. So,
That's
like,
crazy.
tell us what, like,
Well,
All
that's
right,
this
the
well,
whole
is
make up
point.
your
literally, they
minds,
just
right?
want trans
Because
Yeah.
they
people to
can't
not
wait.
exist
They
in public.
can't wait.
So,
I know I said that they don't know trans men exist. They do. They don't know how to handle them. So
yeah.
the narrative is protecting women. We all know that when women say, and people and these transphobes say they're afraid of men dressing as women to attack women, what they're really saying is we're afraid of men attacking women. They just don't understand the
No,
difference.
they want to blame the fact that men are
Yes.
the ones that attack
Yes.
women and children, and so
Yep.
they pick like I said, they pick a small group, then
Yep.
they punish that group to pretend that they've done something to protect women and children without actually doing the thing that needs to be
Yep.
done, which is to address the demographic that causes 95 some odd percent
Yep.
of the harm to
It's men.
women and children, which is cis het men.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
yeah.
dang wide swath of that is white cis het men. But
Yep.
dang
Oh,
it, I'm
yeah,
still
of
using
course.
TikTok language. I'm so used to that.
That's all right. I
When I'm
think
on
I
the
knew it that
Yeah, you
microphone.
can let it fly on here, man.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
on YouTube.
So it's and so, but the thing is that, like, what these decisions have done, and the cisgender women that have gone along with this, unfortunately, have now put themselves into more danger, because you've now got trans men who are being forced to go into the ladies' rooms, which is going to freak people out even more. Look at what just
Right.
happened with the story that you just had of just like a butch lesbian who was in a
Yep.
bathroom, and she has a short haircut and she's tall. And so with a trans guy who's going to have the facial hair and the chest hair and all of that, like now you're forcing that guy into the ladies' room.
Yep.
So guess what? Your cis guys
Right.
who are going to pretend to be trans, they don't got to do nothing. They can just
Yeah.
pretend to be a trans guy. They don't have to put on a costume,
Yep.
nothing. They just walk in there in their
I didn't even
street
think of
Everything
clothes.
that.
they do makes women and children
what
less safe.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the plan.
They're working against it. Yeah. Well, I mean, look who's at the top. I mean, we do have a pedo
Yeah,
slash
and that's the thing. We're
rapist
protecting
at
women
the top of it.
and
Yeah.
Let's
children
elect a
by
rapist.
voting for the guy that penetrated a woman in a changing room.
Yep.
He wasn't wearing a dress. He was wearing a suit.
He
He
was
was
wearing
wearing an
makeup, though. He was
ill-fitting
definitely
blue
wearing makeup.
suit and a red tie down to his knees.
Of course.
I
And it was
mean-
the same thing he was wearing on the day that he went, on the multiple days most likely, but he described it at least on Howard Stern, how he went into teen pageant
Oh, yep,
changing
teen-
rooms.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Again, he
Yeah,
was
to
not wearing
inspect
makeup.
the young women, he would
Yes.
say.
That's
Girls,
fucking
kids. He would
I
go
mean-
in
No
and
clothes.
inspect. He would say they're naked too. He would,
Yes.
Oh,
by the way,
yeah.
he would
He
make
said,
sure
"No
everybody knew that
clothes,"
they
he
were
said.
naked.
I think
Yep.
I came across this post on Instagram, maybe, I don't know, and I thought it was a good way to encapsulate the correct side of things and the way most of us feel, and how it is a minority of ignorant and assholes that are causing this problem. But this is a good one. I was sharing bathrooms with trans women 25 years ago. You couldn't go to a club in New York City in the 90s without seeing trans women and drag queens in ladies' bathrooms.
Hell yeah.
You know what happened? Those horrible, scary, dangerous people fixed my eyeliner, complimented my clothes, gave makeup tips, helped me when I was drunk and praying to the porcelain god, got me into cabs safely, laughed with me, danced with me, and made me feel safe among real predators, cis men.
There it is.
And all the reports of child predators and rapists are typically white men for the most part.
Mhm.
White
Yeah.
Christian men.
Vast
to be
majority of these
exact.
things also do not happen in bathrooms. Like they
Right.
happen,
I
or
just-
changing rooms or locker rooms. They happen in the
Right.
home.
Oh,
Can we
yeah,
just
And then
understand-
after that, the vast
Sandusky's.
majority are in the home or by someone that the victim knows,
Yep.
usually a relative or neighbor.
Mhm.
And then it goes outward to like schools, place of work, churches is a huge
Oh, yeah.
one. And you know that this, and it's not trans people in those instances, you
No.
know.
No.
It just isn't.
and in the spaces where, in the times when it's stranger danger, which is like a minority of the time,
Mhm.
it's a small minority of the time, it's stranger danger. It does happen, right? But we also have like date rape and stuff like that, you know.
Mhm.
Again, it's somebody that like the person is interacting with and knows is not
Mhm.
trans person. That so when it is stranger danger, it is most often not in a space that is high traffic. It's not going to be a
Yep.
fucking Target bathroom. You know
Yeah,
what I
like,
mean?
Right.
Think about
right.
that.
Like
No
it's
one's
going
just
to
like,
be a rest stop bathroom, maybe, but again,
Yeah.
that person's not going to need to dress up. They're just wait till 2
Yeah.
a.m. and then camp out there, you
like
know?
people thinks this happens when people are looking at Legos, like in
Yeah.
the brightest part of the store.
Or
No,
it's going to be a dark parking lot, you know, behind it, back in the alley. It's you know, like it's crimes of opportunity more so than premeditated most of the time. It's like the most premeditation you're going to get is they're just going to hide off the side of a hiking trail, you know, secluded places. Like
Yep.
that's what they want.
you know
Yeah.
how predators use their environment, not how just like the lie. That's the thing. That's the funny part of it. I get, not funny, it's not the right word, but they describe situations
Ironic.
that are there to design people to be terrified, but those situations aren't reality and don't happen in that way. But the people that don't know anything, because they just
No.
they fear what they're told to fear, go, oh, this is happening all around me.
Man,
Have you ever seen
Trump-
it? It's happening all around me.
Trump literally is running around the country on campaign trails saying that kids are going to school and then coming home 2 days later a different gender.
Right.
And their
It was
parents
like,
apparently
if
didn't notice
only
the
it was
entire
that
time they're gone.
easy for me, an adult in New York State.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
It
I
took
just-
me fucking years. Like,
I know, that's why I don't understand how they're like. They think somebody's going to go through years of treatments and surgeries
at a school.
just to troll you in the bathroom. Like, yeah, at a
Mhm.
school. Like, you really think that is the ultimate goal? Like, they woke up one day, he goes, you know what? 10 years from now, or however long it takes, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm sorry. I'm a little ignorant with that. I want to spy on people in the bathroom. So this is what I'm going to do. Surgeries,
Yeah.
hormones,
They'll never
therapy.
guess me.
First, I got to
Right.
start with the
They'll never.
therapy. I
It's
got to
the
convince them
master
that I have
plan. They'll
gender
never
dysphoria.
understand.
Then I'm going
Yeah.
to give myself gender dysphoria by
Yes.
changing my phenotype.
Yeah, right. Come on.
Right. It's
Oh,
so
gosh,
dumb,
yeah.
but unfortunately, I am out of time. I do
All
gotta get
right.
going. Thank you. So I didn't realize it's already been an hour and 15 minutes. I look at the clock. I'm like,
Damn.
oh my goodness. We usually only go like an hour and
Catch my
15
whip
minutes
always
or
makes me
so.
laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, for your audience, thank y'all for you know, having me, and
Thank you for coming
Absolutely.
on. This
and
was a great conversation. I hope
thank
for you
you.
as well. I mean, it was for me and Mike, I'm sure,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I hope
we
it was
love
for
this
you as
stuff.
well.
We just love being able to learn.
We're pretty laid back.
Awesome.
We
I
like making
appreciate
fun of
it.
the right wing for how freaking dumb they are, but you know what I mean? We do take everything seriously
Yeah.
as far
But you gotta
as
have dark
No,
humor. We're
listen,
not
you
gonna
gotta
do
you
this
gotta be
shit.
able to
we
laugh
can go.
too.
Yeah,
Like I
You
try to
do.
keep my show light as well, like so because
Mhm.
sometimes it does get heavy
It's
and
not
like
hard.
we
It's not
cry,
easy.
but
It's not.
then I make corny jokes and I use sound effects and I go
Oh yeah.
whenever somebody says something silly.
Yes.
It's,
Yes.
you know, we have fun. We have
Yes,
You
fun.
gotta
sound
have
it.
fun. We have to
Yeah.
laugh
Right.
through
Whenever
this, or
I
we'll all
drop
lose our
people from the
minds.
show, I give them a you know, it's we and if they run away from the conversation, I give them a so, you
Nice.
know, we get silly when we have our silly dance parties, you know,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. So if you
Silly dance
ever
parties are good.
are on the TikTok streets and looking for something to do on a almost any day afternoon, I'm usually on either at 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then again, usually around 6:30 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. Almost every day.
Good.
Almost
Yeah,
every day.
definitely.
I
Her
definitely think your content is well worth watching, because
oh
even
yeah.
if you're someone that may believe they've done the work to educate
It
themselves,
helps,
you
like, to
will learn
hear
something
because
else.
it's done in a much more calm space than a lot of the debate spaces are. It
Mhm.
gets debatey sometimes when people, like, don't pay attention to the sign that says, "This is not a debate," and they wanna try,
Oh
but
yeah.
and sometimes I'll entertain it for, like, 5 minutes just to, like, just show them they don't know what they're talking about,
Right.
and, because the audience already knows.
Are you on YouTube at all by any chance?
Yes.
I'm gonna start soon. I'm going
Someone
to
asked
start.
about
I
that.
do have a YouTube. It's also Defenestrans. And
It's in the description of the video as well.
so I will be going live on YouTube and
Nice.
probably Twitch as well very soon.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
if the other thing gets off the ground,
Mhm, mhm.
what was that one called? The new TikTok thingy?
Oh, the
With the
skylight.
squid?
Fuck yes.
Oh, I
Skylight.
haven't seen Skylight yet, but
Oh, is there another
I
one?
know that's the blue sky vase one.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I didn't
There's
know there was another one.
there's a Neptune is the other one that's
Oh,
supposedly
I think I heard
launching
that.
soon.
I hope somebody
Um,
does something because TikTok is ass.
I know it is so ass, but it's my main source of income right now. So love you TikTok.
Yeah,
No,
right,
really.
right.
No,
But
I
thank
think
you so much. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
but
No, I was
yeah,
just
no,
gonna
I
say
will be
it's
branching out to them all
Nice.
soon. So
we are absolutely honored you joined our humble show for today, and
Yeah,
obviously you
definitely.
are more than welcome back. We'd love
yeah,
to do
it's
some
fun.
more things where even we just like one of our normal shows where really literally just rip through all
Just
the
goofing
stories and just
the
comment
Yeah,
on
headlines.
topic
Yeah,
conversations are fun.
yeah, that's
And we have a
cool.
Yeah.
blast with them.
Yeah, I'd love it because
We have a
I
lot of
do
videos
also
usually and
do
stuff too.
like the political debate stuff too. So like I try to keep abreast of like
Gotta.
all the nonsense going on. So
Yay, it's just so
Nice.
good for the mental health.
Well, thank
yeah,
you
isn't it?
so much. If you guys want more information on Lainey or where to find her link tree, as well as her YouTube channel, is in the description of the video. So please check that out. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. Give her some more incentive to start streaming on YouTube as well.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, other than that, we hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget, we are fundraising. We are in fundraising mode because I am going to now 2 events. I'm going to
Stop
gotta stop
agreeing
committing
to
to
go
shit.
places.
I know I can't help it.
God.
I love it. I love it. I really do. But I'm going to a protest in DC on the 6th
Heck
for
yeah.
D-Day, and then I'm also going to be in
I know,
Atlantic
I want to
City.
go.
Mike may or may not go yet. We don't know. Hopefully in Atlantic City, because Tom is actually like a half an hour from New Jersey, Combat Vets Against Trump. He's like a half an hour from Atlantic City, so that works. I could just, as long as I can get there and back, I could just crash there.
And
So
we
that's
can
not
play
that
with the
big a deal.
patriotic pup.
Yeah, I love their dog. Their dog is so awesome. All right, but anyway, if you guys are able to donate, our link tree is also in the description of the video. It's also on our channel page. And if you are able to donate, the first link in the link tree is for the trip to DC and probably Atlantic City as well, because I'm not going to need a whole lot of money to go to Atlantic City for that one. So yeah, other than that though, Lenny, thank you so much for being on. We love our wonderful supporters. Our subscribers are amazing. We've actually built a damn good community in the last year and a half.
Want to address that?
What, do you prefer memberships or on the other? Honestly, going through YouTube, it takes literally an entire month. It takes they don't pay you out until like the 3rd or 4th week of the next month. So if you could do the GoFundMe, it's faster and easier for us. Plus,
Jeremy likes to
obviously,
agree
YouTube
to
takes
things that are 2 weeks away.
Right. Yeah. Right. I know. Yeah. I got to stop doing that. But shit keeps popping up. People keep inviting us to stuff now. And it's like, this is new to me. And I'm just all excited like a little kid. Like, I got to go.
Let's get the hell
anyway. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, we love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, I'll be doing my live streams, 2 hours news recaps tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. And then don't know what we have planned for next weekend. I don't know if we have guests or not. Working on that. Together. I got lots of messages out there, so we'll see what happens. Have a good rest of your night. We love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow in the comments. Hopefully, we'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Bye.